What's happening, team? Liam from Lazarus Personal Training, and in this video I'm going to talk about 5 things that will give us 5% extra whenever it comes to our training. So as a bit of insight into where I'm at currently and what I'm doing, I've not posted on YouTube for a good couple of weeks now, and that's not for the lack of trying. I've been thinking of video ideas, I've been trying to film videos, I've actually got to a point where I've had a video ready, uploaded and unlisted, and just didn't want to post it. I didn't feel like it was communicating what I wanted it to communicate, and actually the stuff that I was talking about had been covered multiple times, including by myself, and I just didn't feel like there was a need for it. And really, is there a need for me to be doing YouTube videos? Well, on the surface of it, no, but it's those little extra bits in my life that I feel like give me a little bit more purpose, a little bit more drive. They help with my business stuff. So yes, there is a purpose to doing this, and it's those little extras that make everything else sit up that little bit higher, which is where the idea for this video came from. What are those little extra bits that we can do in the gym or in our wrestling training to get more out of it? So that's exactly what I'm going to talk about through this video. Some of these may be fairly obvious to you, some of them might not be. Really, they're just little things that I find are really beneficial for not only myself, but the people that I work with in regards to getting the most out of their training. Again, whether it be in the gym looking to improve body composition or get stronger or just change something about ourselves, or in a wrestling training where we're looking to get onto shows or just become a more successful performer. So point number 1 when it comes to getting an extra percentage out of your training is your food. Again, this is super obvious, but I think often there's times where we just think about training itself, and that's something that I can be guilty of. And the first thing that slips usually is the food, is not getting the right foods in. And when I'm talking about foods and we're looking at getting a better training session out and getting that extra little percentage out of it, it comes into the food yesterday. It comes into our pre-workout food, as in the food that we've consumed before we work out. It comes into our post-workout food. It comes into our recovery food on the next day. Food is a consistent that we need to be aware of to help us get more out of our training. And if you feel like actually your training is going down a little bit, you're not feeling like you're getting the most out of it, you're feeling like your recovery is taking a little bit longer, that could actually just all be down to your food and making sure that you're hitting your food right. And from a personal aspect, this is something that I struggle with. I love being in the gym. I hate being in the kitchen. So for me, food doesn't sit as much as a priority, but I do know that when my food is on point and when I'm feeling like I'm getting good food into myself, my training definitely benefits from that, both in the gym and in wrestling. So when it comes to your food, you want to be thinking about what foods are you consuming before you work out, what sort of foods are you getting in after you work out, and just generally, is your food staying up on a good level? Now, that's not to say that we can't have crap foods ever again. We can enjoy whatever foods we want to enjoy, but when it comes to our training, when it comes to bettering ourselves, we probably need to cut down on some of the junk and make sure that some of the more healthier things that come into our diet stay into our diet. I say it all the time. If I've got a bucket of KFC or a salad in my hands and I say which one is probably healthier for you, we all know which one we need to go towards. Now, that salad might need to change a little bit depending on what its goals are, but overall, when it comes to it, we know what healthy foods are, we know what unhealthy foods are, and we need to make the correct choices in terms of what foods we are consuming. Point number 2 is a 2-parter, and this is music and the environment that you're in. So for me, music plays a massive part into my lifting, in that if I need to hit big numbers or if I'm feeling just a little bit under on the drive into the gym, I'll stick some music on, I'll crank it up. It's usually Limp Bizkit, it's usually My Way, but I will put that on and it gets me in the mood to lift. So when it comes to our lifting sessions, have some music on that helps you get through that session. Now, it doesn't have to be all out, let's go. It might be something that's far more chilled out. You might find that sticking Taylor Swift on gets you through a training session, and if it does, class. But we need that thing to bring us up to the standard that we want to be at if we feel like we're lacking a little bit. And the second point in this is the environment. Now, I've trained in a number of gyms over the years due to traveling around with wrestling and just jumping around into gyms. I went through a bit of a stage where after I had a year in the gym, I was like, okay, I need to go somewhere else now to train somewhere else. For me, I like an environment where there's a lot of people lifting and having intent into their lifting. As an example, I went from a local leisure centre into a bodybuilding gym, and with that bodybuilding gym, I suddenly looked around me and went, oh, these people are training and I need to step my mark up with that. Now for yourself, you might find that spit and sawdust doesn't fit you. You might find that you like a bit more of a polished gym out of it. And if you do, that's class, but we need to pick the right environment. And then when it comes to wrestling training, we need to pick a school that is appropriate for us. Now, obviously location comes into it, but if you find that you go into a school that just isn't pushing you as hard as you need to be pushed, that might be a case that you need to go to a new school. And I've traveled all over the country training at different places because I wanted to get different experiences in places. So to get the extra little percent out of our training, it might require us to change our environment, and it might require us to get some headphones to stick on some Taylor Swift, because who doesn't love Taylor Swift? Point number 3 is a bit more of a cosmetic one, and it's about your training gear, or like the training kit that you are going into the gym, your gym attire. For me, there is a definite feeling of being more comfortable when I'm wearing certain clothing over other clothing. I've bought shorts that just do not fit correctly and I don't feel comfortable in them, and that ruins a training session. You might have a set of shorts that you go, you know what, these are the best shorts I've ever bought and I feel super comfortable in them. You might have some t-shirts that you go, I really like wearing these t-shirts. Or on the other hand, you might have some t-shirts that you bought specifically for the gym and they just don't fit right. I think there's a lot that goes into wearing the correct attire so you feel comfortable in the gym, so you get the most out of your gym session. If there's something that you wear that just doesn't feel like it fits right and you don't feel super comfortable in it and you're constantly messing around with the sleeve on it, bin it, get rid of it, don't use it for the gym. Find things that you feel comfortable in. If that means going out and buying some new stuff that makes you feel more comfortable and makes you feel like you don't have to worry about adjusting your short leg every 20 seconds because it feels like it's off, put some money into it and get the correct equipment, get the correct gym attire that you need to get the most out of your session, because there's nothing worse than going into the gym and feeling uncomfortable. So the more comfortable that we feel, the better that we'll do, and the extra percentage that we will get out of being in the gym. Point number 4 is a super bland one, but it's your sleep. From personal experience, through lockdown, I got loads of sleep and I felt incredible out of it. For a good number of years, I'd been running on next to no sleep, waking up at 4:30, silly o'clock in the morning to get into the gym for 6 and killing myself, absolutely wrecking myself. And on the days where I didn't have sessions at 6 o'clock, I would go in and train at 6 o'clock because I was just in that rhythm of it and I was getting no sleep and my recovery was terrible. To get the extra percentage out of our training, whether it comes to training in the gym or training with wrestling, get some good sleep because it massively pays off. Not only for recovery of your body, but then also recovery of your mind. If you're new into training and you are learning loads of new bits, you need to sleep so then that stays in your head and then you retain that information. If you go training, stay up all night and then don't get any sleep, the stuff that you have learned is less likely to stick, and that's the research facts. And that also comes into, if we're in the gym, we're learning a new movement, we want to sleep so we can recover, but then also the body retains that information and it becomes second nature as to how we move around. So yeah, get your sleep in. And point number 5 to get that extra 5% out of our training is, do you have a goal and do you have a vision? When it comes to training in the gym, if you have a goal, if you have something that you're working towards, it is far easier to commit the time and commit the effort into going to the gym, rather than it just being a case of going, I feel like I need to go into the gym. Well, if you just sort of feel like you need to go into the gym, and you're being told that you need to go into the gym, more often than not, you're probably not going to go to the gym. Whereas when you know you have an aim, a goal, something to work towards, a driving force, it is way easier to go into the gym. And that's the same thing when it comes to wrestling. If you have an aim for when it comes to wrestling, if you know that you want to get onto certain shows, if you want to get to a certain level, wrestling becomes far easier to commit to. And I see it when it gets to a point, and I've seen it for years and years and years. Someone trains because their aim is to get onto a show. They get onto a show and they suddenly go, right, I've done it, what do I do now? And they stop coming to training as frequently. Then they get a couple more shows and then their effort drops down and then suddenly they drop off and away. Now, if their aim was to get onto a show and that was it, excellent. But for the most part, people want to get into wrestling because they want to become a wrestler. So once you've done that first show, then it's a case of looking at what's next after that show. Is there another level that you want to get to? Is it just a case of working on what you've been doing? So on both parts, whether it's the gym or whether it's in wrestling, we need those aims and goals. But on the flip side to that, I would always say that there needs to be a baseline enjoyment of doing both. So when it comes to the gym, you should really enjoy being in the gym and find things that you enjoy doing in the gym or just in fitness. So it could be a case that you really like going and doing cardio. Not about that life at all. But I understand that people do like going into the gym, jumping on a rower and hitting some badass row times. Not me, but people like doing it. It might be a case that people like going in and just doing some like light pump and fluff stuff. And if people enjoy doing that and they have a baseline enjoyment of going to the gym, perfect. I mentioned this in a tweet a couple of weeks ago, but when it comes to wrestling, there should be a baseline enjoyment of wrestling training, especially the moment where we don't have shows and we don't know what this is going to look like going into 2021 and the future. Shows might become a lot more sporadic. And with that, you need to enjoy training and wrestling training and going through the process of bumps and drills and the in-ring cardio and really getting a love of that to make sure it's sustainable. So even when there isn't a goal in place, like when my next show is, who knows when the next show is, we still go to wrestling training because we enjoy wrestling training, and that again is just going to give us that extra little percentage rather than it being a case of going, I sort of need to go training. So they are 5 things that are going to give us an extra 5% when it comes to our training, whether it be in the gym or whether it be in wrestling. Again, I think the reason for this video is because there's a couple of points in here that might just fall under the radar a little bit. Yes, we know we should be eating the correct food, but why should we be eating the correct food? Because it's going to help us achieve our goals and our ambitions. Why do we need to get good sleep? Because it's going to help with our recovery. Why do we need to be in the correct environment? Because it's going to make us enjoy that process a lot more and get more out of it. There's a whole bunch of different factors, and it's these little things that take a okay session to a great session, or a great session to the best session you've ever done. And we all want to be riding up on those best sessions. So use these little points to get the most out of your training, so then every time that you go and train, you feel like you're getting the most out of your training session. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like, give it a share, and if you really like the content, subscribe to the channel because it massively helps. I've been Liam from Lazarus Personal Training, and I will see you next time.